Okay, hello everyone.
Hello, Doctor.
This is Assistant Professor Arwa Hussein, PhD of English Literature and Multicultural Studies. Today's session is dedicated to discuss one of the important schools in 20th century poetry, which is war poetry. And as you know, war, especially the First World War, and then came the Second World War, were iconic events in the history of Europe and the Western history. And I call it iconic because of the changes that it made on different scales of fields of life, whether politically, military, economically, financially, socially, and psychologically. The beginning of the First World War witnessed the starting or the flourishing of a new school in English poetry known as war poetry. And although the history of English literature witnessed poems written by poets in the previous epochs, to talk about war like the American Civil War, like the Boer War, but with the beginning of the First World War, war poetry started as a school by itself, and it has its own characteristics, its own perspectives and tendencies. In our lecture, I'd like to tackle refer to war poets under three categories. The first category is the war poets, the non-trenches war poets. Let's call them non-trenches war poets. I mean by them, those war poets who were not eyewitnesses. That is, they were not soldiers who experienced soldiering and participated in the battlefield. But they talked about war and represented war in their poetry from testimonies, from news, and from different resources. Like, for example, Thomas Hardy. The second group of poets are those poets who talked about war in a sort of sentimental way. I mean, they dealt with war in a patriotic sense, trying to depict it as a source of glory and for the glory of nations. And the third group of war poets, the majority, by the way, the third group is the majority of the war poets who dealt with the issue of war in a very realistic way. That is, they were trenches poets. I mean, they participated in the battlefield, and they were eyewitnesses, and they lived the trauma of war and the everyday life of on the front, and they talked about it in a very realistic way, trying to show the audience that war is a source of devastation, psychologically, mentally, economically, and even socially. Today we have some presentations. The poets we'd like to refer today are Thomas Hardy, we have Rupert Brooke, and we have also Wilfred Owen, as well as Siegfried Sassoon. Our students will make us presentations on each one of them, and we will discuss them together.
Hello everybody, how are you? Have a nice day. For today we're gonna explain our poet, which is Siegfried Sassoon. So firstly, we have the poem, which named Day. Firstly, I'm gonna read it. The bishop tells us, when the boys come back, they will not be the same, for they will have fought in a just cause. They lead the last attack. on Antichrist, their comrades' blood has bought new right to break an honorable race. They have challenged death and dared him face to face. We are none of us the same, the boys reply. For George lost both his legs, and Bill stumbled. Poor James shot through the lungs, and like to die. And Bert's guns fell, Eric, you will not find a chap who served that hasn't found some change. And the bishop said, the ways of God are strange. So, under certain circumstances, people began to lose faith in religion and religious authority. Not just religious authority and all branches of authorities. Because they differed in appearance and in wordness. So here, a lot of poets appeared to criticize these authorities, like Siegfried, Sassoon in his poem They. So we're gonna explain the stanza, but before that, the poem comprises of two stanzas, 6 lines of each one under rhyme scheme A B A B C C. So,
Mustafa,
yes, doctor.
Can you give us or make us a critical evaluation of the speaker's attitude towards the issue of war?
Yes, of course.
How does he see it? How does he view it? And what is his...
War is a very big mistake, very valuable mistake. But the heroism and nobility which is deserved to highlight it and remembered in the war.
So he's talking about the futility and the pity of war.
Yeah.
So to what group do you think he is best categorized? Can we categorize him to the pro-war or the anti-war?
Anti-war, we can say.
Anti-war,
Yeah, of course.
So you mean he treated, as you see, that he treated Siegfried Sassoon, by the way, he was a soldier, and he was a companion to
yes,
Wilfred
he not just a commentator. He not just one of commentator in this war, but he shared and he lived for the war. And yeah, in the middle of war, he was writing this poem. And even with the poet Brooke, yeah, he was dying. He not interested because he feel this war is just a noble sacrifice. Yeah, everyone, or not just everyone, the bishop in this poem, bishop said and arguing the people and the boys to go to the war and just make their death just a noble sacrifice. He said, you're gonna fight for God or for country. They just lies, not more.
So what is remarkable, as you see, guys, about this poem is the voice of the bishop itself.
Yeah.
It is used here as a means or as part of the British propaganda, trying to convince the youth to participate in war. Even if they are reluctant to do so, they convince them. The speaker poet in this poem is criticizing, is being satirical to the bishops, to the churchmen, as well as the politicians.
We can say the tone in this poem, like you mentioned, it's sarcastic and mocking.
Yeah.
Yes,
So he is mocking. Can we? So what can we say about the general theme of the poem, guys? Can you give us some idea about what theme we can learn from such a poem?
Yes, the theme is irony, just irony, you can say. It's mocking.
Okay, but is he recommending war? Is he against war?
Against this war is against Antichrist, you say, and
the best phrase that illustrates all the poems which
Yes.
treated the issue of war in a realistic way is that they talk about the futility of war or the pity of war. This phrase can be considered a key phrase or key concept, which illustrates the realistic notion towards the issue of war. Okay, and this is how he does this. Would you like to add something else?
yes, doctor, we can see from these words there's sardonic anger deriving from these words, and also we can say this poem is application of Marxism theory.
Yeah.
Marxism, which is a struggle between social classes, right, like proletariat and bourgeoisians and capitalists and workers. Yeah. Here, Bishop, he cannot send like the sons of generals, big, big.
Since that
big
you
men.
have tackled the issue of Marxism, it takes us to the issue of mercenaries. That is, many soldiers were sent to war or participated or joined the battlefield
They just
for
work
economic purposes because they are jobless,
jobless.
unemployed. So they need to earn money. So they were paid a lot as a means to participate in war and to
Like
go
a
to
special
the battle.
forces.
Yeah, for a special purpose. So this shows us, this is a very good point, that Marxism here shows us that people of high status or high social classes do not send their
The sons of their
sons to the battlefield, and who it's the victims, it's the proletariat who are victimized.
Yes,
So-
can we say that most that who signed their name in the war weren't signed their name for the greater good, but rather for their own benefits, because these days were such a days, let's say, tough or cruel days for those who are in the lower class, but in the higher class were just
Definitely.
using them just to defend their country. Yeah.
It shows us that it is a riddle, and it is power relations of nations. So civilians are innocents. It's not an animosity of people. It's the animosity and the struggle of nations and politicians.
So here, Siegfried, Sassoon take him, but the older and most powerful men like generals who hold the fates of younger generation in their hand.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
Those poets, I mean, Sassoons and the others, is they want to show us as if that the war is destroy everything, it's
Yeah.
lead to nothing.
It's a mass destruction.
But first,
This is their message.
yes,
This is their message.
War destroy
Pity
everything.
of war is a mass. This is what they mean by the pity of war. Siegfried, not Siegfried.
Thomas,
Owen.
Wilfred
Owen
Owen.
once said that I dedicate my poetry. I wrote my poetry all to talk about the pity of war.
pity of
Yeah,
is the
and he
meeting.
mentioned this phrase in his poem "Strange
Meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, we can
So the pity of war or the futility of war illustrates the idea that war is a mass destruction.
They don't remember your sacrifice, your nobility, your
Yeah.
heroism. They just after the war, you are nothing.
Yeah.
They don't remember
And
you,
what,
and some
yeah.
of them is gonna be blinded or never see or walk again.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. What makes these poems universal is that they fit for all time and places.
Not for the specific period.
Although they were written especially for the occasion of the First World War, but it is remarkable that the poems of Siegfried, Sassoon and Wilfred Owen were recited by soldiers, let's say for example American soldiers during the invasion of Iraq and their battles in
Just adults.
Afghanistan and everywhere. So this shows us that war is a mass destructive, regardless of the time and the age and the place. It destroys people's life from different sides. Can you tell us something about the literary devices that are some literary devices that you know, in the study of every poem, there is a connection with this, well, we know as the being and the meaning. You know what's the meaning and the being? Being refers to the form. When I talk
Serves
about the
meaning and
being,
meaning.
yeah. When I refer to the being, I mean the language, the style, the literary devices, yeah, the rhyming scheme. This is the being. So it's like the frame.
The structure.
Yeah, the structure of the poem. Now the meaning refers to the content. Sometimes, or good, remarkable works, remarkable or good poems are known for the connection between the being and the meaning, the form and content. Have you noticed any connection between the form, I mean literary devices here, and the meaning of the poem?
Literary devices and meaning of poem.
What literary devices? Does he use metaphors, similes, or what?
Repetition.
Here, no, there is no repetition. In the poem, you can see the words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know.
He by the way,
But you
he,
can
Classic
ask me,
versification. We have versification in this poem.
yeah, he
Personification?
by the way, he uses the exaggerative, hyperbolic.
can we
Yes.
say here
Yeah.
we have personification of
Yeah.
he uses
Personified.
word raise for the war
Yeah.
and the soldiers.
Yeah. So, and also the hyperbolic language, the tone and the rhythm
The
of
tone.
the poem itself.
The
The
sarcastic.
rhythm, there is some acceleration in the poem to describe sometimes, not all of the poem, in some lines of the poem, we notice that there is some sort of acceleration in the poem which expresses the anger
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
the satirical tone of
Sardonic.
the speaker, the sardonic tone of the speaker.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your
thank
presentation.
you,
Good
thank you.
job.
Thank you very much.
Take your seat. Okay. So, as you see now, can we, going back to Thomas Hardy's poem, Channel Firing. Channel Firing. What is the difference between Thomas Hardy and Siegfried Sassoon, Wilfred Owen? All these three names talked about war.
Yes.
And they had poems written for the First World War. But there is some difference between them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, considering Thomas Hardy, he was, let's say, he haven't actually been in war, while the others have been participated in war. And Thomas Hardy had lived and areas, so let's say the two areas, before the World War and after the World War. Before the World War, he was writing about war itself, and he had his unique way of writing it, but rather not, let's say, in a first-person point of view, but rather of what he heard, what he have seen from a long distance, but the others have participated in war, so they can give us portray war as it really is.
And
the situation.
and also Brooke and Siegfried Sassoon, they was in the same battle in the same area. Even Brooke said to Siegfried, "We're gonna not interest in this war, in our death, because we're gonna not never remember in this battle."
Yeah, this is a very good point. I noticed have you noticed any kinship between channel firing and they? Channel firing by, let me remind you of this poem, in Channel Firing, Thomas Hardy, the setting is a graveyard, and the voice of the gun shooting from a ship, a military ship, is heard, and it's just a practice, not a true war, but the loud noise of the gun awakens the dead in the graveyard. The speaker in this poem is a skeleton. Yeah, and he believes at first that it's Judgment Day.
Yeah.
So, and we hear also طبعا we have more than one speaker. We have the voice of God as if telling them, no, it's not Judgment Day. And if it is Judgment Day, all these who are participating now in war will be punished, are sinful.
Yeah.
So it means that war itself is a sin. So there is a sort of connection between religion and war, the issue of war. Do you notice any kinship between both poems?
The other
poem
poem
that
is-
your colleague had already discussed now, They by Siegfried Sassoon, and now Thomas Hardy's poem, Channel Firing.
Our Pity of War, talk
Yes.
about Pity of War.
Both of them talk about the pity
Pity
of
of
war. Yeah, what
Well,
else?
Both of them are anti-war bombs.
Anti-war.
Both
Warfare.
of them are anti-war poems.
Yeah, and the catastrophe of people who are affected by this war.
The catastrophe, yeah.
Can
There
you
is
say
a
that
religion, both, there is a
Yeah,
religion
very
kind,
good
because
point.
God
yeah,
and
yeah,
Bishop.
yeah. Both poets try to connect, yani, try to show the destructive effect, the devastative effect of war, or the negative effect of war by means of tackling religion, by means of referring to religion, but in a different way.
Yes.
Here Thomas Hardy is trying to, employing the voice of God is intentional here. The voice of Almighty God is the secret of power. It is the most powerful voice in this universe. So it is as if a message to the reader that the most powerful voice is telling us that this is a sin.
The only voice
What
of the world.
is taking place now is sinful. And those who are participating and those who are making these wars, pushing their youth to them reluctantly or by seducing them, submitting them money, are sinful, and they will be punished.
Yes.
In the first poem, Doctor, he used the bishop to say like in how to say it, sarcastic way.
Yeah, yeah,
Use the bishop to say to the boys, go to the war, but in sarcastic way.
yeah.
Yes, Dr. Owen. Reply to Muhammad words.
Yeah.
He said, when you're gonna ask a bishop why you are fighting someone who you don't know who are they, you're gonna say God moves in a mysterious way.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the poet
So
himself.
in this other poem, in Siegfried Sassoon's poem, there is a criticism, a satirical tone of the bishops or the churchmen who push their people. He is criticizing, they are on the same level of the politicians.
Yeah.
They deceive people. They follow deceitful ways to make the youth go. And actually, once I read a very impressive sentence about war, describing war. War sucked, the First World War sucked the lives of the youth.
Yes.
Notice how impressive and effective is this. Actually, all wars are sucking the lives of the youth.
Yeah, even religion heads have used the rules of religion to just their benefits. For example, using the young children to go to war in order to have some benefits of this, rather than doing something is correct, or rather the right thing, which is starving war itself.
Also, the religious use this kind of religion
Yeah.
thing to move the youth, the young guys, the young boys, and
To push
by
them,
not just when we grow up, our fathers and mothers, all of our parents learn us or teach us how to be like in a good level by religion.
Yeah.
So they use
Exactly.
this what our parents and our grandfather taught us like in a negative way to use us.
Yeah.
Like there's a motive inside us to be a religion, to go in the way of the religion, the religion way. They use it in a negative way to
Exactly.
use like a weapon.
mentioned about mystery.
Yeah.
You remember it in the last times of this lecture?
Mystery
Mystery
and mastery.
in strange
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
And you asked us why we use mystery. Use this word.
Mystery, because it's a riddle.
Yeah.
Doctor, and also
And it's a riddle that keeps repeating itself.
Personal
People never
benefits.
learn. Never learn. Never get the lesson. And war history repeats itself.
Yeah,
The
repeat
history
itself.
of war repeats itself.
Doctor, also in his poem, in this poem, I think he used a very highly metaphorical image
Yeah.
in the first one. Do you think that?
Yeah.
It's highly metaphorical.
Yeah.
Can we make a relation with the term of impressionism?
Impressionism, no,
It's,
it's something else. But he had mastery in talking about war poems.
Yes.
And why the reason that I had used this particular poem, because he wrote it for the purpose of the First World War.
Yes.
But he had another poem which is highly effective, which has the same atmosphere of Strange Meeting, the man he killed. But that
There is.
poem was written before the 20th century. It was written for the Boer War. But you see,
Yes.
the context is different, but the aim and the idea
the same.
is the same.
It's the same
Yeah.
to the strange
This is
meeting.
the meaning behind the universality of war poetry.
Personal benefits, we can say.
Personal benefit is the and even
Meaningless.
in strange,
Absurdity.
yeah, and
Yes.
strange
Absurdity.
meeting when
Yeah,
we saw the two
absurdity.
soldiers.
It is the absurdity of World War.
Yes.
Maybe one of the reasons behind the absurdity and the sense of absurdity behind this is the school of drama, which absurdity. It's a sense, it's a feeling, which was created or started in the modern man. All these were resulted from war and the conditions of war.
Yeah, and even generation after generation, they know
Yeah,
about
yeah.
war and its causes and what is its effect and which is wrong and right. But this is in their nature.
Yeah.
People are dominating, so they want to get whatever they want, no matter what is the consequences
Yeah.
and no matter what is. And as we saw in the Strange Meeting, the surprise is that the two soldiers, each one from other side, and both of them are in the same place, which
Yeah.
is hell.
Uh-huh.
So there is no right side or wrong side.
Yeah.
So as if it's related to religious,
And by
related
the way,
to normal
in the
life.
end of this poem, in the last lines of this poem, Wilfred Owen shows his sense of guilt.
Mhm.
Shows a sense of guilt that I am the friend you killed.
Yes.
I am the one you killed, my friend. Shows that we are guilty,
Both-
all of us.
Can we consider victimized? Both of them victimized?
Notice the way that the paradoxes are put together.
Yes.
The
enemy I killed.
enemy and friend.
Both
Enemies.
sides.
Both sides.
Both sides.
Sharing the war.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are enemies, but they are friends in humanity
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
they are both victimized.
It's
When they died and lost everything,
Yeah.
they found
Yeah.
harmony and peace, let's say,
Exactly.
which is a nature of a human being, which is should be done, not rather having fight each one another.
And by the way, what makes this meeting strange? How can you explain the title of this poem,
Yeah.
Strange
Please,
Meeting?
Please,
I think the first of all, the place is the hell. Both one of them at least think he's the like the right one. He's leading the thing that's true for himself, the right, by religion, by everything. So after all, the two of them met in hell. So they both sin and had the same guilt by killing each other.
Yeah, and
Okay.
what makes it more stranger, we know that one of the aims of making war is to find peace.
Yeah.
But we see that they are after doing war, when they died, they found peace itself.
Yeah,
So it's something
good.
ironic.
irony.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the irony.
Yeah.
This is the irony. It's strange. We never met before.
Yeah.
Life hasn't met us meet before.
They find
Doctor,
peace in hell.
Now,
In fun way, just imagine when I see you for the first time I meet you, I fight with you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
As if they
so
want to
ironical.
say- As if they want to say, I don't know. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
But, it's war. So
What
there's
is
nothing to do.
remarkable about this poem is very powerful, and
Yes.
it's my nightmarish vision, and it's Gothic. By the way, it has some Gothic elements,
It's very
and
interesting.
the way the language that he uses, the literary devices,
Anger.
the connection between the kinship between the form and content, which shows the core or the main theme of the poem, which is the futility or the pity of war. Now let's move to another poem which tackles war from a different perspective, quite different.
Rupert Brooke?
Yeah,
It is
Robert Brooke.
Yeah. What can we say? Can you refer? Rupert Brooke was a trenches poet, and he wrote a series of 5 sonnets. Although he wrote them, by the way, at the beginning of the First World War, and he died. Some biographers say that even Rupert Brooke changed his mind after writing these poems. But now, for us as students of literature, Rupert Brooke is known as a pro-war poet, which means that he is known for his poems which dealt with the issue of war in a very sentimental and imaginative way, trying to talk about, focusing on the patriotism and the heroism of war. So he takes just the positive side of war. What would you like to, do you have a specific, by the way, he wrote many sonnets, among whom The Soldier and The Dead. Let's tackle one of these poems very quickly in order just to show the difference between both tones.
Well, if you could choose the best one.
Rupert Brooke, The Soldier?
Yeah.
The Soldier, yes.
هاي لاحظت شغلتين، الأولى
جيب مي
إنه مو بس السن مالتهم يوديهم للجهة، وأنا مال قلت.
Yeah.
وهذا الشيء دائما يعتمد اكو قاري واكو مسلسل لوسيفر انه انا لوسيفر يقول لك انا ما اقول لك انطيك سلاح اقول لك اقتل فلان، انا ما اقول لك سوي شيء، ما اقودك، ما الزم ايدك واقول لك سوي شيء، وانما اطلع اللي بداخلك اللي اخذناه الشادو، اطلع اللي بداخلك اظهره، والشادو مالتك اللي راح يسوي افعالك، وهاي افعالك راح يسوي عندك ذنب، والذنب مالك هو راح يقودك للجحيم. لان ذكر الجلت هو الجلت اللي يوديك للجحيم اساسا.
الدكتورة نقدر ناخذ انه مثل ما نقول بديننا موجود انه مو كل شيء يسوي شيطان ويوسوس لك، وانما النفس امارتهم للسوء. نعم. هو نفس الشادو نعتبره.
في قصيدة they بيها نقد للدوغما.
نعم.
churchman. إنه they play the role. They participate in this يعني demonic propaganda.
Yeah.
They are the true demons.
اخذوا دور ابليس حرفيا.
عفوا.
هذا الشيء. وعفوا دكتور، والشغله الثانيه انه البيشوب هو الشخص اللي ينذكر هنا، فهاي دلاله ايضا على انه الحرب ما تذكر الاشخاص اللي قاتلوا، ما تذكر الاشخاص اللي توفوا، ولا النوبل لا الاشخاص الهيرويك، ابد ما تذكر فقط الاشخاص السياسيين. من ذكر الجنود اللي قتلهم، اللي ماتوا بسبب هتلر، من اللي ذكر فقط تعظم هتلر فقط، وبكل الحروب كذا. وبهاي استخدم البيشوب حرفيا حتى يدل هاي الدلاله على الدين، ثم ما ينذكر الشخص اللي ضحى بنفسه وانما الشخص اللي قاتل.
يعني هو this is the reason why I like always يعني to focus on this school. هذه السكول مدرسة الوار poetry, one of the remarkable schools in the study of the 20th century poetry. This is the first reason. A second reason, إنه these poems are not specified to one time and one age. They are universal. And the story and history repeats itself. The story repeats itself, and it happens everywhere and in every time.
That's right.
People never get the lesson. Thank you very much. This is, I hope that this has given you a general idea about war poetry and the School of War Poetry, and as we said, one of the remarkable schools for the study of the 20th century poetry. And as you said, we have tackled the 3 different poets who viewed the issue of war differently. Thomas Hardy, a war poet who, although he was not an eyewitness, that is, he never witnessed the battlefield, but he was very much aware that war is futile. So his poems tackle the futility and the pity of war. And the second poet, or the second two poets, Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon, who both, they were called trenches poets, that is, they lived the experience of soldiering, they were soldier poets, and they tackled the issue of war from a very realistic perspective, focusing on the devastative effect that war makes on people's life from different sides. And the third poet, Rupert Brooke, who wrote poems talking about the patriotism and the heroism of war. And I hope this has given you a very general or an idea about war poetry. Thank you very much for your attendance. Have a